Harold Shipman did not break into his victims' homes. They invited him inside. He did not need to explain why he carried powerful drugs. He was their doctor. And after some of them died, the man responsible for explaining the death was often the same man who had caused it. Shipman was convicted of murdering 15 patients. The official inquiry concluded that he had killed at least 215 people across 24 years. He may be the most prolific serial killer ever identified in Britain. Yet, he did not survive for decades because he was invisible. He survived because he was trusted. By the late 1990s, Shipman was a respected general practitioner in Hyde, Greater Manchester. He made house calls, he treated elderly patients, he entered homes during moments when families were frightened and vulnerable. Nothing about that access seemed suspicious. It was his job. That was his first shield. Shipman did not need to manufacture authority. The medical profession handed it to him. Many of his victims were elderly women living alone. He would visit them at home and inject them with a fatal dose of diamorphine. Then, he could describe the death as the final stage of an illness, certify a natural cause, and reassure the family that nothing unusual had happened. When relatives questioned how suddenly someone had died, the explanations came from the person society had trained them to believe, the doctor. Shipman was not merely hiding evidence. He was interpreting it. A body discovered beside an unknown man would trigger alarm. A body discovered beside a doctor looked like a failed rescue. The scene had not changed, only the authority of the person standing inside it. Trust became camouflage. The system strengthened that camouflage. A doctor attending a death could propose its cause and decide whether it appeared suspicious enough to involve the coroner. Shipman repeatedly claimed that he knew why his patients had died. He reassured relatives that post-mortem examinations were unnecessary. Other doctors signing cremation paperwork often relied upon the information he provided. The safeguards existed, but many depended upon one professional trusting another. Shipman stood at almost every point where suspicion might have entered the process. He controlled the drugs. He controlled the medical records. He often controlled the explanation given to the family. And he could influence whether anyone examined the body. The killer was also the gatekeeper. But Shipman was not completely unnoticed. A local funeral director, Deborah Bambrough, began seeing a disturbing pattern. An unusually high number of Shipman's patients were dying at home. Many were elderly women. Some had apparently been healthy shortly before their deaths. They were often found sitting in chairs, fully dressed, as though death had arrived without warning. Dr. Linda Reynolds, who worked at another medical practice, also became concerned. She was being asked to sign more cremation forms than she considered normal. In March 1998, she reported her concerns to the coroner. The police opened an investigation. For the first time, the shield around Shipman had cracked. But investigators were still looking at a respected doctor. That assumption shaped how they examined the evidence. The investigation was closed within weeks. Police concluded that nothing suspicious had occurred. Shipman returned to his patients. He killed 3 more people before his arrest. The later public inquiry concluded that those lives would probably have been saved had the investigation been conducted properly. This is the most disturbing part of the Shipman case. People had noticed. A funeral director saw the pattern. Doctors raised concerns. The police were warned. The problem was not a complete absence of evidence. The problem was that every warning had to push uphill against one enormous assumption. A respected doctor does not murder his patients. Shipman's authority did not merely encourage people to trust him, it made the alternative feel absurd. Then he made a mistake that medicine could not explain away. On the 24th of June 1998, 81-year-old Kathleen Grundy was found dead in her home. Shipman certified that she had died of old age. Soon afterwards, a will appeared, leaving most of her estate to him. Grundy's daughter, Angela Woodruff, was a solicitor. She knew the document did not resemble her mother's wishes or signature. She contacted the police. Grundy's body was exhumed. Toxicology revealed a fatal level of morphine. Investigators discovered that the will had been created on Shipman's typewriter. He was arrested. The forged will achieved what hundreds of unexpected deaths had failed to do. It removed Shipman from the protected role of doctor and placed him inside an ordinary criminal transaction. He no longer looked like a medical professional explaining a death. He looked like a man who had benefited from it. In January 2000, Shipman was convicted of murdering 15 women and forging Kathleen Grundy's will. The subsequent inquiry examined hundreds of other deaths and concluded that he had killed at least 215 patients. His true total may never be known, neither may his motive. Shipman denied the murders and never gave a reliable explanation, but understanding his private motive may matter less than understanding his opportunity. His crimes were possible because trust had accumulated around him. His patients trusted him because patients must be able to trust doctors. His colleagues trusted him because medicine depends upon professional cooperation. Families trusted him because grief leaves little room for conducting an investigation. Each decision made sense in isolation. Together, they created a sealed room in which Shipman could kill. The case is often described as the story of an evil doctor. That explanation is too comfortable. It turns Shipman into an aberration and leaves everything around him untouched. The deeper story is about a system that treated professional status as evidence of innocence. The official inquiry eventually led to major changes in medical regulation, controlled drugs, and the scrutiny of deaths. Since September 2024, deaths in England and Wales that are not investigated by a coroner must be independently reviewed by a medical examiner. One doctor's explanation is no longer supposed to be the final unchecked voice. The lesson is not that doctors should be distrusted. The overwhelming majority deserve the trust placed in them. The lesson is that trust should never replace scrutiny. Authority can reassure us. It can also change what we believe we are seeing. Harold Shipman did not hide behind an elaborate disguise. He hid behind a profession, and after 24 years, the white coat became his alibi.